session with Calexico City Council, Redevelopment Agency, regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 5:30. Could we have call to order, please?
Mayor Pacheco,
Here.
Councilmember Hodge is absent. Councilmember Romero,
Here.
Councilmember Arreola Fernandez,
Here.
Councilmember Risen.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Any public comments? Anybody? Nothing's been received?
She's coming in.
Having no comments, we're going to adjourn to our closed session meeting, so we'll return shortly after our session. Thank you. Adjournment, closed session. Welcome. We're back from closed session. And we're going to open up our City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Finance Authority meeting, regular session, 6:30. Call to order. Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hodge,
Here.
Councilmember Romero,
Here.
Councilmember Arreola Fernandez,
Here.
Councilmember Risen.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have Mr. Figueroa lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Right hand over your heart, ready, begin.
Mr. Dale, will you lead us in the pledge?
Our mission statement, together.
We pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Can remain standing if we have Pastor Sasueta, Christ Community Church.
Amen. Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, first of all, God, we thank you, God, for another day of life, God, that you have allotted to us. And God, tonight, Lord God, your word does declare that we are to pray for all people everywhere. So, Father, tonight, in the name of our Lord Jesus, we want to pray for the city of Calexico, the citizens of Calexico, and the leadership of this city as well. God, we ask that your grace and your blessing would be with us here tonight. And God, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. You may be seated.
Any closed session announcements, Mr. Campos?
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met in closed session. We have no items to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the approval of the agenda?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
I second.
Mr. Mayor, we are going to add one item to the agenda. It's the emergency item. It's a resolution. A resolution of the City Council, City Calexico, strongly opposing the proposed closure of the Mexico-United States border crossing. If we can, we would like to add this item as item number 8 on the open session agenda of the council.
I'm sorry, item 8,
Correct.
closed session. Good. So it's added to the agenda for
Correct.
the
So if we could
consent
take
agenda.
if we could take a motion to approve the agenda as modified with the addition of this item. If we can take a first and a second.
Okey doke, we'll need to amend the agenda and adding the resolution to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll set the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Added that as item 8 on the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Campos. So moving along, we have announcements.
These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the council meeting. Mayor Pacheco will have community hours to hear the concerns of the citizens the fourth Tuesday of the month from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at City Hall in the City Manager's Conference Room, 608 Heber Avenue, Calexico.
Thank you. We're going to bypass the presentations and come to those a little later. Public comments.
Council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council with personal or slanderous remarks. If the item you wish to comment on is on consent, please comment now. City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comments when we get to the item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. Heather White.
Sorry, I lost my voice. My name is Heather Whiteman from the city of El Centro. I'm here to discuss animal patrol and what was posted on Facebook and what's been going on. I work closely with the two animal control officers and Tees Rescue. I've been helping her for 15 years now. And I just wanted to state that in 2017, when the Humane Society had an exclusive contract with the city of Calexico, 64 dogs were euthanized. In 2018, the Humane Society had the contract for 5 months, and then there is no contract, but Tees Rescue was asked to help. 16 dogs were euthanized last year. This year, only 1 dog has been euthanized. There's no contract with anyone, but we've been successful at moving the dogs out, and the one that was euthanized has been run over, so, I'm not sure where all the misinformation has come from, but, I don't appreciate that some of these citizens have contacted the rescues because that creates drama. We didn't have as many rescues we were working with at the beginning, but we're working with a lot more now. We are able to move about 30 dogs at a time. So, and right now, yesterday, there was 11 dogs in the shelter. 9 of those dogs will be moved out by Monday. They're all going to either homes or to other rescues. So, that's all I have to say. And just, if anyone has any questions, they feel free to call me at any time. I just didn't want the misinformation to go any further. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank
We
you, Heather.
appreciate you very much. Heather does volunteer work at the shelter for us. In fact, she's uses some of her own money and time and gas to take the dogs to the rescue. So we really appreciate your comments. We appreciate your help too. Thank you very much for being here today.
Mr. Kim?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and council members, and city staff. I will not appreciate it here to criticizing every time for the council and staff. But as a city, as a person who loved our city, I've been here almost 40 years. This is like almost my hometown. I cannot see, just close the eye, to we are going down every year and year, and citizens squeezing by the city every year, every moment. One of the big example, you already heard about it, Santo Tomas. A lot of people, they're losing job. You might gonna say, oh, they can go to Las Palmas, but they have a different type of the environmental with the landlord and the merchants. That's one of the reasons Las Palmas was shrinked a lot, and Santo Tomas was, they're going up. Now, city forcing them to go to beer to let the owners have tapping each vendors so they can be just slave for them. And city of Calexico, somebody asked me about the what's called the unemployment rate. Actually, city of Calexico more than 50%. That's a real fact. A lot of people, they're looking for the job. Even somebody, a couple days ago, they stopped to front of me, where I can get the job. Our city of Calexico is killing the local business. You talking about over 200 families' life, and lots of restaurants, gas stations, or whatever is related, impacting the lots of people in town. If so much safety the issue was, why couldn't deliver to gradually to implementing to the in order? City has full power. If even they sue the city has power of the tons of the money, in which is our tax money, to spend with the lawyer. They get stalling the years and years, just like one of the cases, like the police officers. They already have what years? They will spend over $2 million for the case, and just council members are revenging for the officers. Why we cannot have some conclusion to let them work, surviving their life? Lots of people, they are dedicating with their job. They're over the front of the issues economically and family matters. They don't have much time to coming here to show the politics matters. So that people, no voice. Where are our council members to voice for the community? They are representing the community. It's up to you guys how to managing these issues. Help the citizens, please.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Thank you.
That's all we have for public comments. City Council. Ms. Fernandez, any comments?
No, thank you.
Mr. Risen, any comments? Not at this time. Mr. Romero, any comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Hodge.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to piggyback off of Heather's comments. It is unfortunate that at times rumors and misunderstandings taint the hard work and integrity of Calexico City Hall, our city government. Once again, this is happening, and I would like to dispel some of those misunderstandings that have been on Facebook and rumored around in town. They specifically pertain to our city's dog and cat pound operations. But first, I do want to acknowledge and thank the efforts of some citizen volunteers that has held our city accountable for our services to the city pound. And in the last 5 years, we have improved immensely. And in part, it's due to their citizens, volunteers, and their efforts. One general accusation we keep getting over and over again is that our city government, that we are corrupt. And that accusation recently, especially recently, does not have any factual basis. We have fine, diligent, ethical employees in our city government that are busting their you-know-what in every department. We must stop being disrespectful. In regards to the animal pound budget, the budget on the animal pound, there is no corruption. Just a tireless, effective police chief that is within the legal bounds to prioritize money and resources and services, and that's what he's doing. And then the horrible accusation or rumor that Calexico Pound is abundantly euthanizing dogs and cats at the present time is just not true, especially for the last few years. And this is what Heather pointed out. In 2017, we euthanized a total of 16 dogs. I'll just focus on the dogs, for instance. And in this year, up to this point, one dog we have euthanized. Now, I would agree with a lot of people that one dog is just too many anyway. I understand that. But as you can see, we have vastly improved. And it must be acknowledged based on fact that there has been vast improvement in our pound services, and we're going to continue to do so. Now, the issue with the Humane Society is that we have had good relations with them contractually in the past, and we want to have that hopefully in the future. But at the present time, we can't afford a contract with the Humane Society. We have budget constraints. This council and the council prior to it and the administration and the department heads and the department employees have taken this city away from bankruptcy. We were on the edge of the cliff and we were about ready to fall off. We have pulled back. We are somewhat solvent. We are not where we should be, but we're going to where we should be. But that doesn't mean that at this present time we're not providing quality services for our animals. We have a relationship with the San Diego Humane Society and various rescuers like Heather. And our animals are being taken care of, and they're in good hands. So I just want to dispel that the other rumors. It's just not true. Thank you.
Okay, and for my part, we had a nice recognition at April the 2nd at the Autism Awareness. We released balloons, and we had speeches, and we had people from the various county come and partake in that. It was a nice event for the recognition of autism. I'd like to also state that we had a unmet needs with the IVT. We met and responded to the needs for the riderships in the valley. That's for the Imperial County Transportation. And we had, I partook in a couple of career days, one at Dual and one at Jefferson, and I'm going to another one, career day at Cesar Chavez on the 11th. So other than that, we'll swing on by to Mr. Figueroa or Mr. Dale, whoever wants to go first.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to applaud you, Mr. Hodge, Councilman Hodge, on that. The speech is exactly true. The one dog that did unfortunately get euthanized, the reason for that was because it got hit by a car and was about to die anyway. We would stop the suffering. That's the only reason why we would do something like that. We don't just euthanize at all. And so thank you for that, Mr. Hodge. That's all I have, and I think Mr. Figueroa.
Yes, Mayor and council members. I want to bring up another opportunity that is knocking on our door. As I've shared with you for the past possibly 12 months, the City of Calexico worked diligently through staff to make sure that we were able to once again be competitive through the Housing and Community Development Department in Sacramento to apply for public service community grants that the city needs and unfortunately had not been eligible to apply for the past 4 years. As a result of that, as I've shared with you and as you know, we not only applied for a home grant through HCD, which provides first-time home buyer loans as well as home rehabilitation loans to members and residents of Calexico. So we were awarded $500,000 for that a couple of months back. As you also know, we submitted a grant application through the CDBG program, the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is going to be north of $3 million to offset and improve and enhance our fire station here in Calexico. The reason that we're able to do this is because we now can compete for those monies. So now we come across another opportunity that we learned about. HCD published a NOFA, a Notice of Funding Availability, through their SB2 Senate Bill 2 Planning Grant Program, which not all cities in the state are eligible, I want to be clear, but in this case, Calexico was listed on this NOFA, and we're eligible to apply for $160,000. And there are 17 eligible activities that we can use that money in. However, I want to point out that activity number 1 on that list is one that this city is in dire need of, and that is the funds to use to update our general plan. The general plan has not formally been updated by City Council since 2007. There was an update in 2015, however, it was not brought to City Council. So given that we now have with us our planning guru in-house, which is Mr. Christopher Velasco, who's here with us today, we look forward to not only apply for this money. It's an over-the-counter grant, and those of you that are familiar with over-the-counter grants, it's pretty much just a requirement for us to submit an application because there's already a set dollar amount tied to our city. We have an 8-month period to put together this proposal. It's due November 30th of this year. In this case, I think it's clear-cut what the city will need this money for. We will follow the process, bring it to council for approval, so we can properly submit to HCD. But once again, this is another example of how we are looking to make sure that we make strides in addressing the multiple needs the city has.
Okay. Continuing then with, thank you for that, Mr. Figueroa and Mr. Dale. Thank you for that. Going on to the consent agenda.
Presentation items.
We don't have. We're waiting for the paperwork.
Oh, they're not here yet? Okay, sorry.
We can always come back to that, right, Mr. Campos?
Yeah.
All righty.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 4, 5, 6, and 7,
We added item number 8 to it also.
and number 8.
I'm sorry, we have speakers. For item number 6, Mr. Quinn?
Good evening again. I got a call from my friends, City of Calexico going to be applied the grant in number 6. I was reading, it was kind of a scary hiding for the community, which is city going to say the state to pay, charge us more gas tax and the registration fee than give me my portion, my mordidas. That's all about it.
Excuse me, Mr. Kim?
Yes.
What was the last word?
Mordida, city portions.
Who's getting
City,
that?
city gonna get their portions.
Who's getting the mordida?
City.
What city?
I'm not saying the name, City of Calexico.
Well, we take offense to that, but you may continue.
It's a state initiative, it's SB1.
Okay, SB1, under documents in here, SB1 increases per gallon fuel excess gas taxes, increase the diesel fuel sales tax and the vehicle registration fees, and provide for inflationary adjustment to tax rates in future years. Every year it can go up, which is Yeoman Road and Scarani Road and the bridge on the 2nd Street. City of Calexico give the $4 million spent for the Grand Plaza. And they set aside more than $2 million for the major D monies. And city wants to charge more fuel taxes and registration fees the community, and we can get the money to fix the Scarani Road and the Yeoman Road. I don't know about the condition of the Yeoman Road. Scarani is still good conditions. So I really hesitate to see this one without knowingly about the community, we're going to get the more fuel taxes, we're going to charge more fuel taxes, and we're going to we are charging more auto registration fees. So, impacting ours. It doesn't show up to openly to say we're going to increase the taxes. But this is his agenda impacting our lives. I believe City of Calexico tried to using our major money to deliver the necessary service for the community, And I don't know why this Scarani Street is including there, but my presumption was probably cannabis. So it is a city to focusing citizens' benefit. Thank you.
Mr.
Mr.
Kim, those
Kim.
street...
Mr.
those-
Mayor, I'm sorry. May I
Wow.
just
Okay,
comment shortly?
Go ahead.
I think we're all in line for that.
Yeah, we're all ready to comment on this.
These are SB1 funds to be utilized to refurbish
Senate
streets.
Bill 1, which went through the state of California Senate, was approved a few years ago, and it also went back to the ballot again in November of 2018 because there was a move to retract that, but it failed. So SB 1 is a state initiative, and please, Mr. Kim, when you talk about taking bribes, do your homework first.
No, I'm not.
Thank
I'm
you.
not taking the bribes. I'm talking about our portions.
We take
Clearly, I
offense
told
to
you
that,
about
Mr. Kim.
Our portions, and
It's-
if we don't list it, we don't need to get the raise the more taxes. State, the SB1, they prove it, but we're not including this
Mr. Mayor?
street, so we're gonna get more charges for our taxes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the comment, Mr. Kim. Senate Bill 1 is passed, and the voters continue to allow that taxation on our gas so we can improve our streets.
roads.
And our roads and our bridges. So we do have money for that, and that's what we're going to do, fix the Orman Road,
It's being done.
Scaroni Road, and a bridge that we have on Second Street. Any other speaker?
Mr. Kim, on item number 7.
Item number 7.
Well, this one, number 7, we're gonna be using the buying board entity to try to cheaper our buying cost. If I understand, yeah, that's what I'm understanding under these agenda items. But I believe if we have a bidding process, we can get them more cheaper than this percentage, 5-10% of the lowest the buying cost. Why we have the bidding process, we can save the money from there as much as probably more than this amount of money. I don't know where they're saying that we're gonna save the 5 or 10%. We're gonna savings. As a price, it depends on the merchants or business person or stores. It's up to them how they charge it. They can charge $500 or they can charge $300. It's up to we the one who's buying how much we're gonna save the money. So in this one, I'm afraid City of Calexico is not doing the due diligence to saving our tax dollar money. I believe we should keep the bidding process to lower our cost of the cities. Thank you.
The issue there is that we want to piggyback on somebody's pricing so that we could get the same pricing that they're getting at a better
It's
price.
been bid out already, and this is a piggyback on another bid. It saves us time, it saves us effort in bidding process and bidding cost.
And this is for a restroom at the park,
Correct.
the Cordova
And,
Park.
and it would still have to come to council for approval. This is just approving the purchasing cooperation agreement only.
Okay? Any speakers? So, Mr. Hardy, we're going to make a,
No, it's okay. I retract.
okay, we're going to approve items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Amended 2, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, no, 4, 5, 6, and 7, Mr. Mayor.
Well, we added item number 8 as.
Okay.
as
Oh,
a
that's right.
consent.
Yes, the emergency item.
It's a resolution, Mr. Kim. Oh, yes, you can, yes. You want to
For
come
number
up and
8?
say something? No. You spoke on item 6 and 7. This is item number. You may come up and speak on item 8.
Yes, you may speak.
We added, yes, you may speak.
Yeah, item number 8 was the
The emergency item, right.
emergency item of the resolution regarding the border
Yeah, but
wall.
not in consent agenda.
Yes, we added it to the consent. It was added prior to the
When?
meeting.
During the approval.
No, we're gonna approve it of adding the border closing.
Okay. Item 8 is a resolution of the City of Calexico strongly opposing the proposed closure of the Mexico-United States border crossing
What about the city
being
clerk issues?
proposed by President Donald J. Trump.
Number 8 is city clerk issues and printing here.
Oh, that's not right.
Oh, I see what you mean, Mr. Kim.
You have a different comment?
We do have a number 8 item. You are correct, Mr. Kim.
So you're talking about this border crossing then?
Yeah, we put this one in as number 8.
Then I'm gonna take the chance of when you guys talking about the agenda 8, they have numbers 8 too.
Item 8B.
All right, continuing. Thank you, Mr. Campos. We are now going to go back and address the issue of some proclamations.
No, we did, but we had it 8. Well,
We added
already
this
had
one
an
as an
8.
emergency.
Okay.
Correct. When we amended the agenda, the council added the resolution regarding the border crossing as item number 8 to
Right.
to the consent agenda. I know staff may want to make a comment on that resolution.
I mean, yes, I think I'd like to comment. I mean, obviously, as a border city, we are definitely against, strongly opposed, I believe, depending on council action, of the border crossing due to the economics that would happen after the fallout of the economics. Disastrous. We have migrant workers crossing the border every day to go to work, back and forth, living on this side or that side. It would cause all kinds of trouble for us as the city and as the county, possibly even the state and in the United States level. So we are, I mean, for me, my opinion is we are against a border closure, and I would welcome comments from the council.
Well, I concur with you, Mr. City Manager. If this happens, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, it would be devastating economically, but not only that, among families, right? We have families on both sides of the border. We would be torn apart. And Mr. Trump said that if he plans to shut it down, he's not kidding around. It's for a long time. I don't know what that means, but you got to take him by his word, I guess. And it would be devastating, absolutely devastating.
Okay, it's just wrong. Bottom line, it's just wrong. The economy would flounder, and it's not just the Calexico, it's Imperial
Yes.
County, and it's the nation. It's not. It's bigger than what we are. It's including our United States of America. So I just think it's wrong. But that is the new resolution that we added to it. Thank you, Mr. Dale. Proclamation, National Library Week. We're going to go back to presentations. Item number 2.
Do we need a vote on that? Oh, it was a consent item?
Consent item.
Oh, okay, got it.
Whereas today, libraries are not just about books, but what they do for and with people.
Whereas libraries of all types are at the heart of cities, towns, schools, and campuses. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions where people of all backgrounds can be together and connect.
Whereas libraries and librarians build strong communities through transformative services, programs, and expertise. Whereas libraries, which promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all, are cornerstones of democracy.
Whereas libraries promote civic engagement by keeping people informed and aware of community events and issues. Whereas librarians and library workers partner with other civic organizations to make sure their community needs are being met. Whereas libraries and librarians empower their communities to make informed decisions by providing free access to information.
Whereas libraries are a resource for all members of the community regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status by offering services and educational resource that transform lives and strengthen communities. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week.
So now therefore be it resolved that I, Louis Pacheco, Mayor of the City of Calexico, proclaim National Library Week, April the 7th through the 13th, 2019. I encourage all residents to visit the library this week and explore what's new at your library and engage with your librarian. Because of you, libraries transform. Therefore, in witness whereof, I hereunto affix my signature and the official seal of the City of Calexico on the 3rd day of April, 2019. And is our librarian.
Yes. Do you want to do the two at one?
They both get it.
Do you want to read both?
Okay, we'll do the other one.
We don't go back and forth.
Okay, National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 14th and 20th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and
Whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters, is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the public safety communication centers throughout the Imperial County, and
Whereas professional public safety telecommunicators are a vital link between citizens and victims and are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. Whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And
whereas public safety telecommunicators from all communication centers from Imperial County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppressions of fires, and treatments of patients, and
Whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance of their job in the past year.
therefore I, Mayor Louis Pacheco of the City of Calexico, do hereby proclaim the week of April 4th through April 20th, 2019, to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Calexico, in honor of men and women whose diligence, professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. In witness whereof, I hereunto affix my signature and official seal of the City of Calexico on this 3rd day of April of 2019, Mayor Louis Pacheco. So we're going to present these to our librarian and to the chief. Chief? Chief and librarian. You guys gonna come down?
Yes.
Or stay here?
no.
One, two.
Let's go. Photo?
Take your library out and see what's new.
Well, Mayor,
City Council?
she is the person that should be getting this, not me, because she is the dispatcher.
That's correct.
She just got off. She just got off from work.
Okay, item number 8 is the introduction to waive first reading ordinance number 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of City of Calexico, amending section 2.02.110 and chapter 2.07 of the Calexico Municipal Code regarding the appointment process and duties of the city clerk.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dale?
I have
We have
one
one.
speaker. Mr. Kim?
Let me guess. Mr. Kim?
Yeah, as I know what Mr. Dale gonna say about the support is, but don't forget, City of Calexico had a big chaos because after put the appointment power to the city manager has control over the city clerk. The mayor ordered to put the agenda, city clerk cannot put it in because city manager threatened the city clerk to be fired. So we have to sue the city and city council members. At the same time, after that, I had to put several times, put the agenda myself outside. And just like a 007, I was looking at everybody's what's going on here. Are we gonna get the same things? Never. Nobody said, "Oh, I'm gonna control over the city clerk against the city council's wishes." The city clerk supposedly independent position. If the city council fails to secure that position, that means we are fails to implementing our law in the fair ways, legally. That time, city manager legally could stop the council wishes to put an agenda. This one has to be, council supposed to be clearly to independent the city clerk from the city manager to be able to security about the issues of our agenda, even the elections. They can be manipulating, they can be implementing with the threat of the fire. We've been through already. I'm not gonna say Mr. Dale gonna do it, but we never know who's gonna do it, when. So we suppose keep our city clerk's position independently. We have to guarantee their positions. That's why they used to have elected positions. Please, council members, to don't risk the city again. Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to item 8, I'll read it again. Introduce and waive first reading of ordinance of the City Council of City of Calexico to amend section 2.02.110 and chapter 2.07 of the Calexico Municipal Code regarding the appointment process and duties of the city clerk. Any comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a
Item number
second?
8.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mayor, if I
Carried.
could allow an ordinance City Council of Calexico amending section 2.0210 of chapter 2.02 of the Municipal Code and chapter 2.07 of Title II of the Municipal Code regarding the appointment process and duties of the city clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campos. Item number 9. We can have a presentation by our Assistant City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off by sharing with the council and the public that on December 19th, 2018, the Calexico City Council approved amending the cannabis zoning ordinance 1172 and 1173 to allow the retail commercial activities in the city of Calexico for the cannabis industry. As a result of that, ordinances 1191 and 1192 were approved by the city of Calexico. 30 days after the second reading and its approval, the ordinance took effect. That took us to the mid part of January, where the city began to receive applications based on the following. First come, first serve, based on completeness. I do want to point out that as part of this process, applicants were vetted in-house. Applications had to be deemed complete. In full disclosure, I want to point out that there were 2 applications that were accepted by staff. However, they were not complete. Those applications were directed by city administration to be given back so they could be submitted, completed just as the rules were established. With that said, on March 25th, given that Measure K was approved in the last voting ballot in November, and a tax for the cannabis industry was approved by City Council weeks after the election was approved, the Planning Commission now has the authority to issue CUPs that take effect and allow applicants to be awarded a retail cannabis license in the city of Calexico. Ordinance 1192 calls for 5 retail licenses. What we have here today is a recommendation to amend such ordinance to allow 7. And the reason that that is being brought today is because, as part of the process that was established, considering the items that occurred that I just raised right now, there are 3 applications that were submitted on the same day for the 5th and final retail license. As a result of that, after consulting with our legal counsel, consulting with our mayor, consulting with my city manager, and the cannabis subcommittee, which is made up of 2 council members, it was decided that the fair thing to do was to expand to 7 retail licenses and include the 3 licenses that came in on the same day. I do want to point out that on March 25th, Calexico Distribution Company, Urban Leaf, Supreme Greens, and Movocon were given by the Planning Commission a conditional use permit to do retail commercial activities in the city of Calexico. The recommendation from city administration was as follows. We would first want each applicant to have their legal counsel or attorney review the CUP agreement before they sign off on such agreement. We want to make sure that it's transparent, that the language that the city is putting forth is first vetted legally by each applicant. After that, documents get signed, and from the moment they get signed, the CUP takes effect. The other thing that I want to bring up, which is extremely important, is that depending on the direction, based on the recommendation that's being made to council, if council approves to move forward with the 7 applications for retail licenses, we would be now considering Valley Green, Imperial Greens, and Elemental Holistic Care Corp. These are the 3 applications that would fall into the additional 3 openings that City Council would consider tonight if approved. They would follow the same process. As we know, and I shared with you what the rules are now, CUPs are issued by the Planning Commission. So if this ordinance, again, if it gets considered and approved by City Council, the next steps would be as follows. There would be a second reading that would follow on April 17th. After that, 30 days need to transpire before the ordinance takes effect, and we could potentially be looking at a Planning Commission meeting the week of May 28th for the 3 CUPs to be brought to the Planning Commission for their approval. Again, the same process would follow, in which we would first recommend that each applicant that gets awarded a CUP check with their legal counsel the language and narrative in the agreement. If there's any comments or questions, we would be more than happy to address them before documents get executed. Having said that, there are 5 other applications that would be in the queue. One of the things that we as a subcommittee discussed is the fact that we want to be fair also to those applicants that are in the queue. And one of the things that we as administration would recommend, pending council consideration and approval, would be that we as a city issue a letter to those applicants that are in the queue, being very clear that this letter does not signify the award of a retail license, but it provides them the opportunity to begin the vetting process with the state of California. So if they are deemed to be cleared by the state, they can be ready to come back and be considered for a CUP if any of the applicants do not meet the requirements that the city is putting forth in terms of a timeline for them to begin business operations. In addition to that, there are other options that City Council can consider in terms of those that get vetted and approved by the state of California, that they could be considered as ready-to-go businesses and potentially be given a priority opportunity when it comes to the next in line list that we would put in place. With that said, we want to be clear that the Planning Commission's recommendation, in essence, was to expand the total number of licenses in the city. I think that is something that falls along the lines to some degree as to what's being proposed today, not in its entirety, but to some degree it falls to what the Planning Commission recommended. And at this point right now, I do want to reiterate that city administration, along with the cannabis subcommittee made of 2 council members, and our cannabis attorney represented by Best and Krieger, which is our city firm, have gone through this process that I just shared with you. So at this point, council, if there is anything that I was not clear on, I would be more than happy to address any comments you may have, or if you wish to complement anything I mentioned, I feel it would be appropriate that we do it right now.
Go ahead.
Tell the audience the location, where the location is going to be for this cannabis sale.
Yes, that's a great point, Councilman Risen, and we do want to emphasize that at this point, all retail activities would fall, which is detailed in our local law, which is the cannabis overlay zone in the north industrial part of the city, which is made up of 354 acres. That is where the retail activities would be limited to.
Mr. Figueroa, a question. The 5 that are on queue, upon giving the proper paperwork for them to start the application through the state of California, will they fall under just 8 through number 12, or would it be a first come, first serve based on their approval from the state?
That is something that us as administration do not have the authority to implement. At this point right now, we would recommend that we as administration receive direction from City Council on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments?
No,
from the public?
I have one request. Sorry. Mr. Figueroa, I have a request. If it's legal, this is the names and entities of these 7, right? It's public record, is that correct?
Yes, and I just
And you
named.
just mentioned
Yes,
some.
I did.
Can we find a way to be a little more transparent, and can we put them on the website? Or?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
this is a public document that anybody through the public records request process can get a copy of the documentation. If the desire of the City Council is that we go a step forward, we can definitely consider that.
I know I asked this question before, but again, for clarification, we have from 1 to 7. That's a given, right? From 1.
Pending your approval
No?
tonight.
Pending our approval tonight. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. But we have 5 in the queue.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
So hypothetically, if one of the 7s don't make it, is this the process? Then we put one of the 5 into the position?
Absolutely.
Or are we going to go 7 and then later 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
There are a lot of moving pieces right now. there is expected that the Cannabis Bureau up in Sacramento is going to issue new additional language to the existing laws in the month of July regarding ratios in terms of how retail shops should measure based on population. Right now, there are unofficial figures that even the state uses. What we know is that in the month of July, something formal is going to come in. At this point right now, going to your first question, Mr. Hodge, you pretty much have the authority to direct administration how you wish to handle the process once applicants go through the state vetting process that are in the queue.
Okay.
The other thing that I want to mention is that, yes, we as a city can issue a license, but that license is going to be no good if the state does not issue their license.
Correct. Well, I personally like the numbers 7 for tonight.
Here's the issue, though. We have two things to vote on. They want to, number one, according to the recommendations by the Planning Commission, they wanted to submit and increase the permits from 5 to 50. I think that would be overtaxing our efforts here at the city to maintain sustainable coverage and making sure that our police department and people can actually oversee that much amount of
Mayor, and with all due respect, I apologize for interrupting, but I omitted one piece in my presentation. And I want to make sure that on record, we make sure, because our police chief, Gonzalo Gerardo, was part also of the process of meeting with all the stakeholders that I mentioned. So I also want to add Calexico PD as a stakeholder that participated in the process that I alluded to.
Thank you.
Mr. Figueroa, one last question. Upon completion of application and being submitted, no name can be changed, correct? If name would want to be changed, would you have to
No,
restart
sir.
all the
Licenses
application?
cannot be sold. Licenses cannot be flipped. I mean, that is something that our legal counsel through our city attorney has been very clear on, and we've made sure to also include those understandings in any type of local cannabis law that this council has approved.
Thank you. So it's up to us to decide whether we want option 1, option 2, or something else. Is there a recommendation, Mr. Hodge?
Yes, I recommend as a council that we adopt option number 2, which states adopt the city staff's recommendation to increase the number of retail cannabis permits from 5 to 7.
Thank you. Is there a second on that?
I second it.
All those in favor of adopting item number 2 from 5 to 7, say aye.
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 I'll
Thank
read the
you.
ordinance. Ordinance City Council, City of Calexico, amending Chapter 17.11 of the Municipal Code, increasing the number of retail cannabis applicants allowed to operate within the city, and the ordinance will reflect that the new number will be 7. So we're increasing it from 5 to 7.
Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney and City Mayor and council members, I do, for the sake of the direction, I do want to be clear if there is anything in particular that you desire for the companies that are in the queue, and I'm going to read their names: Head Stash Corp., Valley Holistic, AMG Dynamic Enterprises, 3 Greens Collective, and Calexico Dispensary. I think we talked about the process. We provided options. If it's your desire to do some of the recommendations that the subcommittee mentioned that I brought up right now as part of my presentation, if there is that consensus, I would appreciate if that can be informed to us.
Do we set it in motion? Do we set a motion for that?
City Attorney,
If we got direct, sometimes we issue these letters administratively, but being the sensitive nature of this topic, if we can get direction from council, if there's a will for that. And I think one of the first item or the main item is supporting these entities in the queue with
Right.
their state application, some sort of letter of support.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd have to provide the proper legal language, because obviously our code right now still would only allow 7, and we'd have to amend that at a later date. But if we can provide legally sufficient language that will allow them to start processing their applications at the state level, that would be the direction we would seek from the council to go ahead and work with them on that. If we can at least get direction from the council.
Official direction from you folks right now would be suffice.
To allow those people to continue with the vetting process with the state to keep them on target in case.
And keep them in the queue.
Upon failure of the first 7, next one in line is ready to
Yes.
go and they're properly vetted.
And once
no,
they
wait,
they
you like that?
inform city administration of their results from the state, is there any particular item that you would want to?
Well, maybe the 5 in queue would be do it on a first come, first served basis based upon the completion and the
state
satisfaction of the
process?
state process.
Is that what the
I
council
think once the
agrees?
state approves, I think
Right.
that would be the route to go.
Understood, thank you.
And please be noted that this time it would be not only date stamped, but time stamped as well, so we don't have that issue again.
Understood, sir.
Mr. Campos, we're going to come back with this in May?
Correct, yes, we'd have to come back. This ordinance, first reading, it'll come back at the next council meeting, be effective in 30 days. At that point in time, the
It'll
three.
become effective after 30 days.
Yes, 4, 5, and 7 will be able to submit their CUPs. The other ones in the queue will hopefully start the process at the state level. At that point in time, to the extent they're receiving state licenses, we would have to come back before you
That's fine.
to then amend our code again.
Perfect.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Direction? Thank you.
Given.
Give it.
Given.
Thank you. Item 10. Item 10 reads as follows. Authorize city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding between the city of Calexico and the city of El Centro for tree planting in the city of Calexico. Mr. Dale, any comments on 300 and how many? 348 trees?
Yes.
Where are you going to put them?
Well, all over city, but starting with Cordova Park, probably, Risen Field. But there's some other places around the city that need trees, as long as they have irrigation. So that's the big thing. We don't want to plant trees when there's no irrigation.
And we are part of this consortium that we've partnered with the other cities, and that's our portion of the tree allotment.
This is actually, the city of El Centro got this grant, and so thanks to them, thanks to the city of El Centro, and we're a part of it. Quite frankly, I'm not sure that they could plant 1,500 trees or whatever it was, at the 1,400 trees that they got. So it's a kind of a shared county-wide deal. But thank you again to the city of El Centro for that.
Yes. Okay, well, we thank the city of El Centro. We'll put those trees to good use, make sure we have water. All those in favor accepting the proposal for understanding of between El Centro and Calexico tree planting? There's a
Motion.
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I was just informed that on item number 9, there were public speakers, public comments, and we never got to them. No?
There's some there.
No?
Oh, yeah.
I only have 8 and 11.
Oh,
That's me.
Oh, here's one. Here's the gentleman.
Hi, my name is Carlos Fonseca. I live on 1821 Elena Place, and I am also the owner of Three Greens Collective. I am the number 11th, I believe, on the list. My major concern here is transparency, right? We need to know when the top people submitted their application, not only submitted, paid, right? Really important here. Paid the $1,800 or the $5,300 that I was charged back in December, right? If we're gonna go by if it was on a first come, first served basis, I wanna know why these top 5 are there. It doesn't add up. There's things here that, heck, why, if it started back in January, the process, I have a receipt that I paid December 16th, $5,000 something. The receipt says Cannabis District, what was it? It says, I have it right here. Guys, my receipt says house into new cannabis dispensary. Conversion of existing building, I would assume. So that right there, I paid on 12/3/2018, $5,810, right? This was not for an application for cannabis, okay? Let me get that clear. This was not for that. This was for me to start building on a property that I acquired, right, to start the cannabis, you know, my business here, my delivery, my storefront. Guys, I'm in the hole here, okay? I want to say I started this movement in Calexico. Now, I might not have started this movement politically, right? Because I'm the last guy to be a politician here. And so I came to Mr. Figueroa, I came to you, Mr. Hodge, right? And I showed you what concentrates were. I showed you what the benefits were. I feel like I am left out. I'm pissed off, right? And as I'm here today trying to plead my case, I don't have 2 years to wait.
No,
I don't have 6 months to wait.
you're a businessman, sir.
I am ready to open, sir.
Time is money.
The people that are on the list ahead of me, congratulations, okay? But you're not ready. I'll tell you right now, you're not ready. You're not gonna be ready in 6 months either. So let's cut the BS, guys. Let's do this right. Let's start looking at who is ready. This whole thing was flawed, I believe. This whole thing was flawed. And yes, we are in the public eye. We are in the state's eye. We're in the county's eye. We're in everybody's eye to make this right. And I believe we're starting off on a bad foot already. We need, my solution, guys, honestly, give everybody the letter, this letter that's magically going to appear, and let us please go to the state and have the state say yes or no. Not a local politician, not a person of the planning commission, not the Juan Mangano, no, the state. Those are the guys that are going to ultimately say yes or no, because they're going to look at our records. They're going to look to see if we have any embezzlement charges, if any financed, anything, right? They're going to look at our record.
Right.
And it's going to be a more in-depth process than the city. Thank you for your time.
Sir?
The question I have, we have these people already aligned and getting the permits, the CUPs. What time frame are they given to produce a viable storefront or a viable, okay? Is there a time frame for these individuals?
The CUP agreements are going to read 6 months.
6 months.
Yes. But and I want to be clear on something here. I mean, and I think this is something that was alluded right now by Mr. Fonseca, and that is that, and I mentioned it in my presentation, you can go as far as you want, but if the state does not issue a license, you're never going to operate.
Right.
That's right.
You're not. So it's in the best interest of every applicant, as soon as they get that CUP, to start that process, because if they're not going to be awarded a license by the state, they need to cut their losses too and not invest more money, obviously.
Right.
That would be an obvious move.
Right.
But that's why I wanted to get the recommendation from City Council as to how the other applicants can be on a similar competitive process. So if people vetted by the state are not cutting it, people can step in right away.
Mr. Figueroa, and that letter, is there a time frame when it would be ready for those 5 applicants on queue? So they can start their process in the state?
Repeat again.
The amendment affidavit letter, so that they can go to state, the 5 applicants on queue, they can start their state process?
Oh, yeah,
When would
absolutely.
that letter be ready? Give them
Well,
so we can.
here's the thing, and I think that it's something that our attorney raised right now. And Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong from what you just mentioned right now. But we would be looking at this ordinance to take effect, or to allude to what Councilman Romero is saying, wait for the ordinance to take effect, or would it be something?
They can start now.
Correct. I think it would be something we can start, we wouldn't have to
Soon as
wait necessarily
possible.
for the ordinance to be effective. We'd have to work on the language to see to what extent will we feel comfortable issuing on paper, because obviously, right now, our ordinances would only allow 7, and obviously those in the queue, so we'd have to come back, and that's still another legislative decision, so we need to have, it would be so we'd have to work on language that works for the state that also works for the city. So we'd have to
Mr.
find that
Campos,
work.
and just along the lines of what you're saying, I mean, I think what's clear here is that no license is being awarded. It's simply the vetting process so everybody can know if they're in or they're out,
Right.
pending state approval. And since there's going to be no official
And that even includes
issuance,
the first 7,
no
right?
official issuance of a CUP, like our city attorney just mentioned right now, I mean, the process can begin as soon as we, as staff, finalize that letter with our city attorney. We can turn around to the people in the queue and everybody else and get that going, as you allude to.
So these letters, I'm sorry, Carlos again, 1521. The whole letter thing, how's that gonna work? Are we going to, is everybody going to get one? The top 5 that are here now, and also the latter? Are,
And I apologize, Mr. Fonseca, if I was not clear on that. But right now, I mean, we want to make sure that those that are in the queue.
Is he in the queue?
Yes, that are from 8 to 12, get this like now.
Sir, I just want you to understand something. I'm ready to make Calexico some tax money here, right? And if we're gonna wait 6 months, and then extensions, and then another 6, and then, I mean, come on, you're burying me. I might as well just pull the plug right now and go do something else. So, I mean, that's what you guys pushed me to do, basically. It's a tough decision for me. I started this from day 1. And now I can't get my permit because you're only allowing 5 that we don't even know if they were there legally or, done by how they paid. There's so many inconsistencies, Yes, the rumors come into play, the this, the that. It starts playing some sort of head game with us too, and it's not healthy. I run another business called Glory Sanitation Services. I'm the number 1 and the number 2 business, right? It's stressful. Ask my guy right here. I'm up at 6 a.m. and I go to sleep at 12 because I'm running 2 businesses. It is stressful. And I would like to get some clarification so I can stop coming to these meetings and I can focus on my cannabis business. Yes, sir.
Do you have a license now?
Yes, I do. I have a license from the state of California, which is not allowed here at the city because, I'll be honest with you, the city is behind. The state lets us operate. I pay taxes to the state of California, and so does the lady here from Head Stash.
So is my understanding you can sell any place in California?
Yes, sir.
For delivery, right?
For medical, yes.
You've been selling here? In Calexico?
I'll plead the 5th on that one. Sorry, I wouldn't want to answer that unless I had an attorney here. Right? I won't get in trouble.
We'll take that as a yes. That's
Sir, I'll be honest with you. I said from the beginning, I started this movement. I came to Mr. Hodge with, and I came to Mr. Figueroa, whom I've known since we're really young.
Why?
So, Mr. Fonseca, if you don't mind me asking, nothing stops you from going to another city, acquiring a delivery business permit, and being able to do delivery services to the city of Calexico?
Nothing at all, sir. I can go to the city of Temecula, I could go to the city of Irvine, I can go to any city in the state of California, and I can operate legally here.
Yeah, but
And
he
the
wants to
state, and the
operate
city
here.
of Calexico will not get any of the tax revenue. It would go straight to the city where I am.
But you want to be here with us.
I want to. I almost was born here. I was born in Mexicali, sir. All my life I've came here. My son goes to school in El Centro. My family is tied, deeply rooted to Calexico. And I want to give back. A lot of the people that are already here, they're not from here. I'll tell you the truth. They're from San Diego, they're from apart.
There's an elephant here in the room, I sense. Were you part of the first 7?
No,
5?
sir. No,
4?
nothing. 5, nothing. I'm 11th,
So we
sir.
heard this item already.
I am 11th, and I believe I'm the number 1 to go ready right now. I'm at the top of the food chain when it comes to cannabis, and I'm a number 11.
Mr. Fonseca, we have a process now. We have stated what we want to do, and hopefully you can get the paperwork started with the state, come back, and you might fall
Number 8?
earlier than what you think,
Right.
really.
Hopefully, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 11. We're going to change hats here and do the Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency. And that means that we have property that belongs to the RDA. And basically, we want to, Mr. Dale, sell this property because the time's up, or we need to show the state that we need to get some money for it.
We submitted a long-range property plan to the Department of Finance several years ago, stating that we would sell our RDA properties, most of them, and this one falls on that list. So it is, now we're moving forward with our responsibilities with the Department of Finance.
In addition to that, to add to what Mr. Dale mentioned, this successor agency approved the process where we selected a broker to represent the city as the Department of Finance recommends. So we've made sure to cross all our boxes, make sure that we do everything that the Department of Finance is expecting from the city to do.
We have a speaker, sir?
We have a speaker on this?
Let me guess.
Mr. Kim?
City of Calexico, they were selling our property to RDA years ago. And I believe 2012, the state took over, that they canceled the RDA. But before that, City of Calexico pulled all the loan to refinance it to the RDA, so they got a big check and keep into the bank. Later they was using it. And since I was elected council, I spoke all this council, the city managers to looking into keep the property into the city. If we sell, we don't get that much shares. So I was recommended all the city managers, if we make the project, we can keep it. We can keep that property later on. Maybe if we decide it, later on we can sell. But unfortunately, all the city managers failed to do looking into the project. So now, city wants to sell the land. City, why not selling the gun club to the Grand Plaza? We didn't sell that. That Grand Plaza was
Mr.
$2.8
Kim, we're not
million.
talking about that property, we're talking about this property,
That's what I'm
220
saying, that's what I'm
Avenida Campillo.
That's what I'm saying. In case if we want to sell this property, why not selling the Grand Plaza? That's $2.8 million worth. We can collect the money.
I don't think that's under the RDA. This
Yes.
one is.
The successor agencies, the property.
This property is.
Yes, that's what the gun club too. So I'm saying is, why if you want to sell this one to that people, why not we not selling the gun club to the Grand Plaza? We have agreements, and we're not pursuing it. Not even collect the rent. So that's what I'm saying. If we want to sell this one, why not we selling the Grand Plaza to the the gun club to the Grand Plaza? You're already using it.
Okay. That's for another day.
Well, I will see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kim. Any other information, Mr. Dale? No. We want to approve of a purchase and sale agreement between Successor Agency and Ruben Tercero Ramirez regarding 220 Avenida Campillo, Calexico, California. All those in favor of, is there a motion?
Motion to approve item 11?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carried. Future agenda items, Ms. Hernandez,
I don't have anything.
Mr. Risen, nothing. Mr. Romero,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hodge.
Yes, I have three. One was just, it's a past request. I know that we're working on downtown. I understand that, and especially now with Councilman Morris Risen. But I think, I'm going to say what Escobar used to say. It behooves us to to have a formal action plan, especially for downtown. So I requested that, so I'd still like to see that being worked on. The second area is, I'd like to be put on the agenda, a discussion and possible action for commission business cards and discussion for removing the commissioners due to a lack of attendance. Do we have a policy on that already?
3 meetings if they're missed, or
3 meetings
It's a
consecutively?
bylaw already
or-
set by every different commission, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Sir, you have 3 meetings missed within a 12-month period.
Okay. Well, I'm just hearing that there's some that are missing. All right. And then the last one is, I'd like to have some backup information and the status of the Calexico 10 theaters.
Right now? Yep. Well, we did get an offer. I think it was 3 million. It wasn't up to the 4.5 million that is asking. So there is a clause that it has to meet the broker's value. And so until we get an offer that is at the broker's value, we can't necessarily take it. And again, once it's approved by council, it has to be approved by the oversight board at the county. Then it goes to the Department of Finance, so it's highly scrutinized. So we want to make sure we do it right.
May I ask a question? Do we have the right as a city to buy the property?
If we have $4.5 million.
$5 million.
I do not want to lose the Calexico 10 theaters.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to lose the theaters.
There's
Well,
wasn't
the
there
idea
a
is that-
stipulation, City Manager, a stipulation where the theater still stays even if the property is sold? Isn't that part
Is
of
that
the
true?
clause?
That's a possibility.
Let's not forget that there's an existing lease with Metropolitan Theaters between the theater company and the city.
Okay?
So one thing is the land where it sits, which is what we need to sell based on our long-term property management plan that DOF approved. But one of the things that we also know is obviously it's more enticing to look at an opportunity if there's a long-term commitment from the company
Right.
that sits on, or the business that sits on the land.
And we would deal with that.
Exactly. So right now, it's, if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this, I'll just go back and provide a hard number in terms of the year that we're into the lease. But obviously, the city can always revisit with Metropolitan Theaters an extension to that lease.
I suggest we do that.
So in other words, Mr. Figueroa, whoever buys that land is also kind of like buying the lease for Metropolitan, so it won't leave?
Well, in essence, there's value if there's a long lease, obviously, right?
Okay.
So the lease would continue to be with the city, but that's going to change because the city's not going to own the property
Right.
anymore.
Okay.
Yes, and there is also something where the city can step in and work with the broker to address what Mr. Hodge is mentioning.
There you go.
So there are things that the city can do. So.
All right, well, I'm just stating
Right.
my feeling about it. I don't want to lose those theaters.
Mr. Dale, is it too early to focus on budgets for next year?
Well,
I
we
know-
have
I
our
know-
finance
I know-
director
I
here.
know she's working hard on trying to close
Our
up.
audit, the audits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
happy
it's-
to say that our audit may be done by the end of the week. Which is how much faster than the last year, couple of months. And so we're getting faster and faster on the audits, which is a good omen for our finance department.
Very good. Well, and just talking like where we want and where we're at, and how bleak are we, and
You're going to do another update third quarter? So next meeting, we'll do it.
update. That's good.
Thank you, Director.
Um,
Can I just say one last thing, Mr. Mayor, before? Just a reminder to all the public and anybody watching online, City of Calexico will have its 2019 State of the City Address. And it's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
presented
Forgot
by
about
the
that.
Honorable Mayor Luis Pacheco
Yes.
on April 16 at the Carmen Durazo Cultural Arts Center at 6 p.m. So please RSVP for further information, please contact Norma Gerardo at 760-768-2111.
10.
That number again.
No. And actually, music will be provided by OCAM, which is the Orquesta de Cámara de Mexicali. So we invite you all to come out and hear our Honorable Mayor Pacheco,
Yes.
give a statement on us being back on track.
Back
Thank
on
you,
track.
Councilman.
Yeah. We have that, and we also have, Mr. Dale is putting on a lot of makeup recently.
Yes.
He's,
Can you show us some moves?
Not right now. I'm sure it'll come out later on video.
he's gonna be dancing at May the 4th.
May the 3rd.
May the 3rd at
Friday,
the
May
Q.
the 3rd, yes.
At the Q.
Dancing with the Stars. It's for the IVROP
Tickets
Foundation.
are only
$85.
Mr. Pacheco, please clarify that it's an IVRP Foundation event. Mr. Dale doesn't dance just for everybody.
Unless you ask as a council and I'll that's okay.
Okay. Good for the order, that's it? Thank you, we're gonna close the session. Thank you very much.